Ryan Newman is going to Roush Fenway Racing. The second race of the playoffs is tonight. Let's have a quick little out of the groove. How's it going, everyone? My name is Eric, and welcome, of course, to Out of the Groove. Wanted to have this video up earlier today, so it's kind of last minute. As you're watching this, the race is probably getting ready to start, but hopefully some of this is still interesting. My pick coming into the weekend was Joey Logano. I know he qualified like 12th or 13th, but I still think Team Penske's going to be really tough to beat. Kyle Busch has been really good here in years past. I think he's going to have kind of an uncharacteristically bad Richmond race here tonight, especially given his recent success. Denny Hamlin's the driver I want to watch. He qualified well for this race. He's had great success here in the past. He's 20 points outside the cut line, like I talked about earlier this week, so he needs a great race, and I think tonight's going to be his best chance to do it. So I'm going to keep my eye on Denny Hamlin, as well as some of those guys like Chase Elliott, Eric Jones, who needs a good run. This is going to be a very interesting race. So now that that's out of the way, I want to talk about the main topic in this episode, and that is the announcement that came here early Saturday afternoon that Ryan Newman is going to drive for Roush Fenway Racing next year in the number 6 car. The first domino of silly season has officially fallen. We've had all these rumors about Kurt Busch going to the 1 car, about Matt DiBenedetto's leaving Go Fast Racing. You had this question mark around the 6 car, the question mark involving Toyota, where Suarez is going to go. Is Truex going to the 19 car? That seems very likely, but this announcement made by Jack Roush, president of Roush Fenway Racing, Steve Newmark, and of course Ryan Newman, that was held at Richmond earlier this afternoon. This is the first official announcement we've seen where a move has been announced, where Ryan Newman, who announced just about a week ago that he was leaving RCR, he's already got a new home at Roush Fenway Racing, and I want to talk about that really quick and analyze it a little bit. Ryan Newman announced last week that he would be leaving Richard Childress Racing. You know, they've made the playoffs 3 out of the 5 years he'd been there. He had 1 win with the team, runner-up finish in the points in 2014, so he'd had some success. RCR has kind of faded, and I think Ryan Newman, who's 40 years old, looked at his current situation as, you know, he needed something to change. He doesn't have a lot of years left in his career. He needed a change of scenery. RCR was going nowhere. They still are going nowhere. They got Austin Dillon and now an empty seat there. That team's going nowhere at the moment. Roush Fenway Racing's a team that we think has maybe hit rock bottom. I think coming into this year with Stenhouse and Trevor Bayne both wrecking all the time, the Xfinity program there is a mess. That 60 car is cursed, obviously. We all know that. Roush Fenway Racing has kind of hit rock bottom. They have nowhere to go but up from here, I feel like. And Matt Kenseth's had some decent runs in that 6 car lately. It was not surprising that Ryan Newman was going to have a shot at that race team. In my silly season predictions video last week, I said that Ryan Newman would be going to the 6 car because with his announcement leaving RCR, it all just made too much sense. So sure enough, I'm now 1 for 1, or I might say 1 for 2, because I think I also said Cole Custer was going to go to the 41, and I'm pretty sure Gene Haas has already said that's not going to happen. So maybe I'm 1 for 2. But as far as official announcements go, I'm 1 for 1. So I'm batting 1,000. So what does this mean for Ryan Newman? What does this mean for Roush Fenway Racing? For Ryan Newman, like I said, he's 40 years old. He was going nowhere at RCR. I can't sit here and tell you that moving over to Roush Fenway Racing is a step up from RCR, but I don't really think it's a step down. Sure, that 6 car has been a 25th to 30th place car most of the time the last couple of years, but with the right driver, like we've seen a couple times this year with Matt Kenseth, that 6 car can still be maybe a playoff contender, and that's kind of what I expect from Ryan Newman next year. I still expect him to be a 15th, maybe to 20th place car in most weekends, and maybe if something goes his way, he could sneak into the playoffs next year. But I think for Ryan Newman, if we're looking 2-3 years down the road, because in their press conference, Jack Roush made the comment that he thinks Ryan Newman will drive for them for several years. I think down the line, when Newman's 42, 43, 44, maybe that could be a playoff team, an actual playoff team. I don't think championship contender ever, but a playoff team, and that's better than what Ryan Newman had at RCR. So as far as Ryan Newman goes, this is a no-brainer decision for him. It's probably the best car available that he had a chance of getting. I don't think Tony Stewart wanted him in that 41 car. I don't really, the rumors all say Kurt Busch was going to the 1 car at Chip Ganassi, and Truex is going to JGR. So of the cars available, the 6 car is probably the next best option for him. So I think it's a good move for Newman. As for Roush Fenway Racing, they were kind of put into a box in this situation. Back in May, they announced Matt Kenseth would be coming back to race part-time this year. They basically cut Trevor Bayne's races in half, and basically at that point gave Trevor Bayne the boot. It was announced also last week that Bayne's gone for good, so that kind of left the door open as to who's going to drive the 6 in 2019. A lot of people thought Matt Kenseth would ultimately take over that ride, and I think Roush Fenway Racing was kind of hoping Matt Kenseth would be their full-time driver in 2019. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. It had been rumored for a while and then confirmed at their press conference here Saturday afternoon that Matt Kenseth had basically approached them saying he had no interest in driving the 6 car full-time next year. Matt Kenseth is 46 years old. He's had a couple decent runs in that car this year. Nothing, to blow anyone's mind. You kind of felt like from what Matt Kenseth had been saying recently that he was planning on hanging it up after this year. All the reports I've heard say Matt Kenseth basically told Roush Fenway Racing, I do not want to race that car full-time next year, and I can't really blame him. It's not a very competitive car. Matt Kenseth is he's had his fun in his career. He's won a championship, won 39 races. He's good to go. He's a Hall of Famer. Doesn't need to waste his time driving that 6 car. Now, in that press conference, Steve Newmark, the president of Roush Fenway Racing, did mention that he's going to have talks with Matt Kenseth about joining the team in sort of a management or advisory role of some sort, kind of like how Mark Martin is with the team. So that could be interesting to see if Matt Kenseth still has some sort of involvement with Roush. I don't think Matt Kenseth is going anywhere else. I don't think that 41, I don't think Matt Kenseth will go there. I don't think he's going to end up in JGR or in any other car. I think Matt Kenseth is done driving after 2019, or after 2018, I should say. But the reason I say this puts Roush Fenway Racing in a box is once Matt Kenseth told them, hey, I don't want to race for you guys next year, I don't want to race full-time in that car, Roush Fenway Racing had a tough decision to make because Jack Roush has said that he wanted that car to be competitive. He didn't want to put a young guy in that car with no experience. He wanted to put a veteran that could help advance their program, and he thought that was going to be Matt Kenseth. But when Matt Kenseth kind of said, nah, I'm not feeling it, he kind of had, very few options to look at. When Ryan Newman announced his departure from RCR, I think Jack Roush probably looked at that and said, dang, that's our only option. Kurt Busch is going to the 1 car, we already know that. I love Jamie McMurray, but he's kind of, I feel like he's not quite as good as Ryan Newman. I mean, don't hate me, McMurray fans, but I think Ryan Newman has had a little bit more success more recently. McMurray hasn't won a race since 2013. He also missed the playoffs this year, driving a better car than I think Newman's driving, so Ryan Newman makes more sense. But really, once Matt Kenseth kind of turned down the 6 car, Jack Roush really only had one option left, and that was Ryan Newman. That's the only guy left that really fit the bill for what he was looking for. So as for the future of the 6 car, I expect them to maybe be a playoff contender next year. Like I said, I don't necessarily think they're going to make the playoffs or be one of the top 16, but they'll be in the conversation at least. I have to see how this year ends, but they're going to at least be in the conversation. Going forward, 2 or 3 years down the line, it'll be interesting to see where Stenhouse is at. It'll be interesting to see where Ryan Newman's at in that 6 car and where that overall program is. They made comments, Jack Roush said during his press conference that he thought they'd improved since Kenseth had been with them. And, we saw at Indianapolis a couple weeks ago how well they ran. So they have probably improved a little bit. We'll see if Ryan Newman is able to get them over another hump and get them into a real playoff consideration or a real playoff type team. I feel like they still have a little ways to go, but that's interesting. And the reason this is interesting for Roush Fenway Racing is they are one of the oldest, one of the most historic and most successful franchises in NASCAR history, but they haven't won any Cup Series championships since they went back-to-back in 2003 and 2004. They've won a lot of races since then. They've seen a lot of great drivers come and go, but it's no secret that Jack Roush is a guy who wants to get back to that success they had in the early and mid-2000s. And maybe Ryan Newman will help them get there, but it's gonna be a work in progress for sure. Anyway, that's all I want to talk about. Quick episode of Out of the Groove. Enjoy the race tonight, everyone. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. You can become a Patreon sponsor of the show like Kyle Hill, Michael Harrison, and the rest of our outstanding supporters. You guys can help me out directly. It really means a lot. Helps me keep this show rolling. But anyway, that's all I have. Enjoy the race tonight at Richmond. Should be a great one. I didn't talk about Dale Jr. in this episode, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a heck of a run in the Xfinity race last night. I probably should have mentioned that. Yeah, led some laps, won stage 2, finished 4th. Did not expect that in his first NASCAR race in almost a year, so that was pretty fun to see. But hopefully the race tonight is just as fun. Yeah, it should be a good one. I'll see you guys after the race. Probably see you guys tomorrow. So have a good evening, everyone.